Dan, what's your take on this, knowing, of course, that Tesla has a massive, if controversial, Bitcoin investment, and increasingly we are seeing more institutional players buy in?
Look, I think it all started with Musk's comments. The U-turn from one of the biggest proponents of Bitcoin and crypto. I mean, that was the gut punch to the market. And of course, now we've seen China regulatory and other worries all come in. And it's ultimately been a nightmare on Elm Street scenario for not just crypto investors, but even in Tesla, because Tesla, it's been overhanging the stock, and it's almost a sideshow that started to overshadow the story. And I believe, continue to believe that Bitcoin and crypto is going to be something we'll be talking about for years to come, especially when it comes to blockchain and some of the other capabilities. But it is going through just a clear sort of metamorphosis, now glass half empty view. But I think it all got kicked off with Elon's comments.
Do you think that Tesla will sell some of its Bitcoin investment, or do you think the company intends to hold? I mean, of course, Elon has implied one thing, then clarified. At this point, it seems like he's saying they're holding, but whether or not Tesla does that, is that a big, unpredictable factor for you?
Yeah, now they've put themselves into such a quagmire, because ultimately, take a step back. I mean, they had about $1.2 billion gain at one point, based on where the prices were. That's been wiped out. So now this keeps going lower. You start to ultimately get losses, which speaks to the broader worry of investors, where instead of just cash from an investment perspective, then it starts becoming an overhang. And I do believe that they're going to almost be forced to at least sell more and more portions of this, just given the overall dynamics and what Musk has said.
Would you prefer, as an analyst, for Musk to stop tweeting about all of this? I mean, one day it's one thing, another day it's something else.
Well, and also it's not champagne and roses. If you look in this market, risk off, patience is wearing thin. I think you've seen a lot of frustration for investors, especially on the Bitcoin side, because it's overshadowed on the EV story. Because right now, look at those China numbers in April. Investors want to see what ultimately happens on electric vehicles and not have this sideshow ultimately start to overshadow the story. So as an analyst, even though I understand the Bitcoin, the crypto story, it's really, I think, tainted a bit the Tesla story, especially because of the backtracking and because of the sideshow that we've seen with Musk, who obviously continues to be the foundational part of Tesla.
In your view, should Tesla hold on to its Bitcoin, or should it get out of crypto and some of this more speculative investing altogether?
Well, I think that continues to be a core DNA where they believe in crypto. Musk believes in crypto, and this is something where I think that this is going to be continued investments over time. But right now, given what we've seen from a transaction perspective, as well as just the risk profile, I think many investors would actually like to see them pare it down, at least, just given what we've seen from Musk on the transaction side. So that's going to be the big focus going forward. He said that they're not going to sell, but we'll see as we get into the quarter and going forward. And, it's really created, I think, a frustration point, not just for crypto investors, but for Tesla investors, because it goes back to, I think what that piece did a great job explaining, the environmental issues. That didn't change in 3 months.